All right. I got some pop quiz questions for the teenagers, right? Oh, yeah, you're still following that, don't you? All right, we're going to talk about Philippians today. And so most of the adults here are familiar with Philippians, typically because it's one of the shortest books to read, the letters to read, so it's like an easy one to get to. But let's ask some basic questions. Philippians, who wrote this letter? Who wrote the letter of Philippians? Follow the instructions, Rustin. I just said this is a pop quiz for the teenagers. You're still young at heart. I get it. I understand. All right, so Paul wrote this letter, right? We've heard of Paul before, one of the apostles, right? Who's this letter written to? What? Philip? Not really close. That's a good idea. That's a good guess. Philippians, Philip. Nope, not Philip. Who's it written to? Everly. The people that live where? In Philippi. Very good. Excellent, right? So you were close. One letter off, yeah. To Philip, or the people of Philippi, right? So it's written to a group of people. So it's not written to you, right? It's not written to us. It's not written to the people of St. Bernard or New Orleans or the United States, right? It's written to a group of people that lived 2,000 years ago in an ancient city called Philippi, right? Has anybody heard of Philippi before? Visited? Right? You couldn't visit it because it's just basically ancient ruins right now, unless you were like looking at ancient ruins. All right, where did Paul write this letter from? Oh, man. No, Everly, you already answered. Kennedy, where did Paul write this letter from? Oh, man. All right. An adult. Everly, do you know? Very good. Rustin, he's like, wait, call me. So Paul, right, the Apostle Paul writes this letter to a group of people in Philippi, right? A group of people who were like this, a small group of people. And he writes it from jail. So let's start there. That's the context. Let's start in Philippians chapter 1. Somebody read verses 1 through 6. Miss Jennifer, you got a big tablet open. 1 through 6, please.
Follow Timothy, servants of Christ Jesus, to all the saints in Christ Jesus who are at Philippi, with the overseers and deacons. Grace to you, and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, for you all making my prayer with joy, because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. And I am sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ.
Excellent. So here is the context. Here Paul starts penning this letter, starts writing to a group of people that he has met and been ministering to. And what's his focus here? Right? He's in jail, and he's writing a letter, and what's his focus? Is his focus, as he starts this letter, woe is me? Is his focus, oh my gosh, you have no idea how bad the food is here. You have no idea that these people that are putting me in jail, the chains that are heavy, the things that I have to wear, you have no idea what I'm going through. Is that how he starts this letter? What does he start? What does he say? Instead of playing the victim role, he says, I'm so grateful for people like you. I am so grateful that God is doing these things in you. I pray, and when I think of you, and I think of you with joy. Paul's focus, which becomes much more clear as we move through chapter 1, is very singular. As I was thinking about this letter, there was the reminder of this year has been difficult, as you know. And there's been lots of huge elephants that we've been trying to eat and monsters that we've been trying to feed. And, whether it be Ida, whether it be a tornado, whether it be recovery or more recovery, there'll be insurance or money or the completion of trying to move back in this beast. I was sitting in the teaching room, as we were, not the teaching room, but the new conference room that we have, and we were sitting with the teaching team. And I just sat there and I told him, I said, look, I got nothing. Like I am bone dry. I have no ideas of what to teach. I have no ideas of what the pulse is. I have no ideas of no creative ideas whatsoever. I need your help. I don't even know what to say on Saturday. This is Thursday. And I have no idea what I'm going to teach for the next several weeks. And so we sat there and we talked about it, and somebody brought up Philippians. I thought, okay, so Philippians. And so I opened up Philippians, and chapter 2 opened up, and Abby's like, look, you got all kinds of notes in chapter 2. And I flipped over to chapter 1, and there was no notes. This is like my soul right here. It's bone dry. There's nothing here. There's one note in here. So I closed my Bible, and I said, all right, I think I'll talk about chapter 1 in Philippians. And then Aaron called me as I was driving after picking up Ken, and he's like, you gotta interview Mandy. There's a story that Mandy has that I think ties in to Philippians 1. And I tried to get Mandy here, but she's like, I don't know if I want to speak in front of everybody. But you had the conversation with her. Do you want to just give a quick synopsis of what it was?
I was leaving from that meeting, and I guess the first lesson we all know is we can breeze by people and wave and say, what's up, goodbye, how you doing, stuff, but take a second, listen to somebody's story, or give them some of your time. She, on the way out, it wasn't on purpose, but I just stopped for a second by her desk, and she made a comment about the desk, and she started tearing up. And she said, she's pretty much hated a lot of the last year, not because of anybody, but everything was changing constantly. So this was going to happen at Camp Hope, but then it was going to change. This was going to happen at D2, then it was going to change. And it was just tumultuous. You could just tell. She said it was just one thing after another. I enjoyed my job, I just didn't like all the change. She said the desk out there in the lobby, which I don't know if you guys all saw the work day or if you popped in the lobby, but the bones of the desk, the structure of it, came from her desk that was out there. But the face of it was changed with new wood, and then it was painted. And she kind of talked about, before she got choked up, she talked about how you might stay the same as a person, but the outside might need reworked, or you might need some adjustment. And she said the last year has been a pretty big adjustment. I couldn't wait to be back here, back in this desk, because it feels normal, but it's just with a little bit of adjustment. And it kind of looks like that time you can be grateful for some things, even if other stuff's going to change around you.
So as I thought about that, I thought of the question, when things are rough, what is your focus on? When times are hard, what do you focus on? How often do we allow our mind to wander into these places that dominate our emotions? How often do our struggles, how often does our mind focus solely on the struggle that we're going through? And when we do that, what happens? When we only focus on the bad, and that's all we can see, and that's all we can think about, what is that like? And as I was pondering on that, I thought, it's probably like when you wear dark sunglasses in a dark room, or even a low-lit room like this. When I have dark sunglasses in a low-lit room, I can't see everything around me. I can't even see all the words on my paper here. My vision is distorted. I can't see. And if that's what happens when all I look at, when all I focus is the negative, what do I see? Just the negative. Here, Paul is in jail. He pens this letter. And remind you, a Roman jail at this time is no picnic, right? It is, you're either outside in the heat, chained to the ground, or you're inside this dark dungeon with very little light. There's Typically, no food unless somebody from the outside world brings it to the jail to feed you. The water is probably not clean. You're filthy. There's no showers, right? There's no, three meals in a cot, right? This is a miserable place to be. And he pens this letter, and what's his focus? Read verse 6 again, please.
And I am sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ.
His focus isn't only on prayer and it isn't only on joy, but his focus is that I'm going to read my version really quick because it's a little bit different. It says this: being persuaded of this, that he who has begun a good work in you shall perfect it until the day of Yeshua Messiah. That he who has begun a good work in you shall ta'anim. I think we have the word up here. Ta'anim. And the word ta'anim doesn't mean perfect, because in Hebrew there is no word for perfect or perfect. The word ta'anim in Hebrew means to complete or completion or to make whole. Kind of like Mandy's desk that was just the guts of something that was even kind of broken when we got it. It wasn't this thing that looked good, but a little bit of work every day made this thing look spectacular, if you haven't seen it yet. It is a complete transformation. It is an absolute, you wouldn't even recognize the desk, that was the desk that she used to sit at. It is a completely different looking thing now. And it's fabulous. And unlike the desk, Paul isn't speaking of material things, he's speaking of people. He's speaking of people's hearts, people's lives. When these people came to know Messiah, their life started to change. Like a seed being planted, because these people now had faith in God. Something was sprouting in them. Through Messiah, their lives were different. Their focus is different. Their joy is now different. Their hope is different, because they were willing to turn their lives over to God. There's something good transforming inside of them, bringing wholeness to their hearts, to something that might have been once broken. As we listen to this male, how many of us believe that God does have a desire to make us whole, to make us complete, to relieve our pain, to relieve our anxiety, to relieve the past that we can't let go of? Do we believe that he can heal our pain? Do we believe this to be true? We just sang a song about this idea. I believe. Do we? Philippians 1:8, he goes on. Somebody read 8 and 9 for me, please.
God is my witness, how I yearn for you with all the affection of Christ Jesus. It is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment.
Here, Paul does something different. It's not just about what you believe now. There's a switch to this idea that you have to grow this. You have to do something a little bit different. And Micah says, and this I pray, that your love might extend more and more in knowledge and in discernment. There's this book that I have on my shelf at home. It says, discipline equals freedom. Right? The more that we learn about love, the more that we desire to learn about love, it gives us a discerning about love. Why should we be discerning about love? What's wrong with just love? Why can't we just love everything? Is there a problem with that? Right? Why do we discern? Because love is a powerful, powerful thing. It can even be dangerous. It's like fire. Is fire a good thing? Sometimes. Why? Why is it sometimes?
Say you're in the woods and you need to start a fire, it's just a thought.
Right? Sometimes you need fire for warmth, for protection. You know, there's a lot of benefits to fire, but why is fire necessarily, or why could it be bad? And what else? It can burn you. And can it only burn you? What else? It could kill you. Love is a powerful thing. It is a strong, huge, beneficial, beautiful thing, but it can also be a dangerous thing because it can also lead you astray. It can also keep you, and have you ever met anybody who's been in an abusive relationship, right? And they're being beat or they're being verbally abused or something's wrong, but they can't leave. Why? Because they love them. Is that love? Right? There's discernment that needs to take place in love because love is powerful and sometimes it keeps you or moves you into a place that is dangerous and bad. And Paul says, no, you need to keep growing and learning in knowledge and discernment of this. Love is good, but keep growing. He continues, Jennifer, verse 12 through 14.
I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel, so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to all the rest that my imprisonment is for Christ. And most of the brothers, having become confident in the Lord by my imprisonment, are much more bold to speak the word without fear.
Okay, so this is interesting. He's in jail. And what's he doing? What did he just say? Like, what did it say about the imperial guards?
It has become, what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard.
How did it become known throughout the whole imperial guard? He's in jail. He's preaching in jail. What's he preaching? Give me another word for the gospel, right? The good news, right? There's this idea, like here, he's in jail. Most people that these imperial guards see in jail are doing what? Woe is me. I hate you. I'm cursing you out. I wish you all die. But there's something different about Paul. It's not, and it's probably not just what he's saying. He's being such an influence that they're like, who are you? Right? Why are you so kind? Why are you so patient? Why are you not cussing us out? Why are you appreciative and gratitude? And why are you sending out these joyful letters to people? There's something about his life that these guards that are watching this man who's so different from everybody else that it's influencing them and appealing them to come to him like a magnet. And he shares this good news with them. He shares that there's a story about God and there's this Messiah who can change their lives. And it's not only the imperial guard, there's people that are in the jail, their lives are transforming, or maybe the people that are now outside the jail, that there's a transformation that's taking place, and now there's a boldness, he says. These people have a boldness to share this story. I mean, where does that even come from? If you've had an experience with God, if you've had this transformation, if something in your life God has awakened in you, and your life is different now, and you can look back and you say, thank God, I can't believe how this has helped me. There's now a motivation. There's a motivation, like I have to do something with this. I have to do something with this gift. I have to share what this gift has done in my life. God has done this in my life. Let me tell you about it. Let me tell you how God has changed me. Let me share with you what God has done. It's not like you got to go evangelize to people. These people are just sharing, this is what God has done in my life. This is how I'm different. People are noticing, taking actual notice that your life is different somehow, and they're not afraid to share it. They're not embarrassed to tell people, my life is different because of God. But how often are we just afraid to say, because maybe somebody will think, weird of me? Miss Everly, can you read 1:19 through 21, please? Really loud for everybody.
For I know that through your prayers and God's provision of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, what has happened to me will turn out for my deliverance.
Paul has a singular purpose, a singular focus. It's what guides his decisions. It's what guides his work. It's what guides his relationships. For me, to live, the Greek word for to live is zain. Right? If you know me, you know what that symbol is to me. For me to live, everything about his life was to live the Messiah. It's who he was. It's who his gratitude came from. It's how he made his decisions on who I should talk to, where I should go, what business adventures should I take part in to fund my ministry. This was his theme of his life. My life is to live for Messiah. If I die, I die. But if I live, I'm going to live my life with purpose. This is my purpose. Paul's life is summed up in this one sentence. If you believe that following Messiah can change your life, that after surrendering all of our egos, surrendering our selfish desires, surrendering our will, surrendering our life to God, and following Messiah, that in this, our lives will be a process of continual change. Like a seed being planted, we will continue to grow to completion. That brokenness that is in our past or that marred our history, that is being healed and restored, and we are being made whole, finding fulfillment and peace in our life. If that were true, then why wouldn't we live our life continually pursuing God and his love for us? If that were true, then why wouldn't we seek that genuine, heartfelt love with discipline and with action? What holds us back from that? For Paul, that was his life. Zane. My life is to live this way. And with all courage and boldness and fearlessness, there's nothing that's going to hold me back from living this way. Because his life was transformed. And when we experience that, sometimes we forget. That happened to me years ago, and I miss that experience. I don't know what that's like anymore. And sometimes we have that problem because either we're in a desert and we're trudging along, or maybe we've veered off course and we've been consumed by materialism or all of these things that we really don't need God anymore. But if we're like Paul, we want to experience this stuff on a regular basis, it's really just about pursuit and a singular focus. This is what I'm going to pursue. And this is what I see. I pray that we as a small community can do just that. That our focus and our life can be defined by him. Father, we just thank you for a reminder from Paul. A reminder that in a simple letter written to people who cared about and loved this man who was in jail, his focus was to encourage them, to share his love with them, to empower them to live a life of boldness and courage. Pray, Father, that we can learn from that lesson, that we can read somebody else's mail, and we can be inspired to live. We praise your holy name.